real, this is Lethal Kindness. Welcome back. Hey, how are you? Hope you're doing okay. Anyway, let me look at my notes because, you gotta outsource something from your head. Um, oh yeah, this video, four dreams worth remembering. Four dreams that I've experienced in my life that apparently I've remembered so far. And as I explain each one, I think you'll probably see why I remembered each one. They're in no particular order, loosely chronological, loosely, but also not. I don't know what that matters, being infinite beings and all. So anyway, dream number one. This happened when I was a young child, probably before even the age of 3. I might have been 2. This would have been at a point when I was still living in the apartment in Queens with my parents, because the dream took place in the apartment in Queens, and I was running around naked because that's a pretty awesome way to run around. I'm not gonna lie, and everyone who agrees with me on that, I'll see you at Gunnison. Anyway, that's just kind of like standard little kid thing to do. I think is just to kind of run around completely in the buff because it feels awesome, and some of us are lucky never to grow out of that. But anyway, this dream was really interesting because I remember pooping out my pee hole. And it was interesting because I was like, hey, that's not supposed to work like that. But it was also interesting because it wasn't like disgusting feces as you would normally encounter in everyday life. Hopefully, in everyday life, if you're staying regular, because I'm looking out for your health. We're looking out for each other's health here, right? But yeah, they were kind of like weird textured orb balls, like floating orbs. There were 2 of them, like perfectly spherical. Just floating there. I was like, wow, it's interesting. And then that kind of clued me into the fact that it was a dream. And it was a super vivid dream. Like everything was like almost more real than real. But anyway, yeah, that's the first one. Poop out my pee hole. And try to edit out the laughter. Nah, I won't. Second one. Second dream I want to tell you about. I like to call Pleased to Meet You, Jesus. This was a pretty epic dream. This probably happened around the age of 12 or 13 for me. And this was in the context of playing a lot of like first-person shooter games. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of a computer or games that you would play on a computer, but there was a game called, I think it was Doom. I didn't really play that one, but there were other ones. I played another game called Marathon, which was perhaps less popular or whatever, but involved going to different planets and exploring worlds, but also shooting everything from a first-person perspective because you got to get that ingrained in everybody's mind, right? But anyway, this was a dream where I was exploring an underground tunnel system, and I was very much aware that this was a game. I was in the game, I was playing a game, and I was getting through this tunnel system underground, and I was like, whoa, I have to jump over this chasm to get to the other side of this chasm to continue going in this tunnel. And I was like, let me try, and I just jumped out. I started falling down the chasm. I was like, oh no, that's okay. Let me try it again. This is a game. Because I don't know if you know this popular tactic of children growing up in the 80s and 90s becoming addicted to video games. Basically, if at first you did not succeed, try again. That was a very valuable lesson we learned from interacting machines instead of our parents. But anyway, yeah, so I was in this underground tunnel, and every chance that I got, and I started falling, I was like, wait a minute, no, I gotta try that again. So I'd try it again, fall down the chasm. Oh, let me just redo. Okay, let me zoom back. Let me try that again. And I just kept on like failing. I was like, man, I just keep on failing. You know what? I'm just gonna fall down this chasm and see where it takes me. and I fell, and I bounced at the bottom. I guess it was a dream. I didn't like break anything. It was pretty bouncy. And then I walk around and I see like a tent, and I see Jesus. And I'm like, wow, Jesus. And he's got two other guys. One of them I think is Moses. The other guy, I don't know, but there are two other guys. One to his right, one to his left. And they were sitting there. And then, there wasn't really much words exchanged. But I just kind of looked, and he invited me over. And I said, okay, I'll come over. And he said, told me to stick out my arm. So I stuck out my arm. He took his arm, so it was my left arm, his left arm, and in his right hand he had like a sickle. A giant sickle, like kind of shaped like, like the typical, I guess it would be a scythe or a sickle or something, but it's got that kind of crescent moon shape blade. And he just kind of very lightly just kind of cut both of our arms a little bit. And he goes across, he goes like, and then drops the knife, and then takes both of our blood and just swirls it together on our forearms. At which point, I wake up from my dream in an explosion of bliss. And that was the end of the dream. It was a pretty nice dream. Now, I wonder what you think about that dream. I have my thoughts about that dream. I think I'm a pretty lucky guy, I'll tell you what. Oh, the third one. I guess, you know what? I'll switch the order. I'll keep it in kind of chronological, because this happened in between this dream and my Pleased to Meet Your Jesus dream, and the next dream I'm going to talk about. But this one is a dream in which I fell to my death. And I just want to say, people say like, oh, you can't die in dreams. Well, I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. People who say that it's impossible to die in a dream haven't done it. And, yeah. It's not so bad. It's just a dream. But anyway, this was a fun dream. I was engaging in city top parkour on large pieces of city infrastructure. So like tops of buildings, bridges, and there was this one bridge where I guess this one piece that I was landing on was a little bit too wobbly, and then I said, oh well, gravity's going to take me in the way that I was not planning on going, just straight down. And I remember falling, and then it cut to the next scene, which was just a newspaper article on a subway about a guy who fell to his death. Actually, there were two other people. I mean, there was me and like another person. The other person, I think, made it, but I didn't. But what are you gonna do? So that was my fell to my death dream. Got one more dream for this video. Yes, and that is my spaceship dream. Oh, what a dream. Oh, what a dream. This was in I want to say in my 30s, my mid-30s. Okay, I'll go back. Put everything in chronological. The first one, I'm going to try and say this without giggling. Fail. Poop out my pee hole. That was the first one that happened when I was around 2 or 3. Then around 12 or 13, I was Pleased to Meet You, Jesus. The fell to my death dream, I think that was probably in my 20s. And now the next one's in my 30s. So the next one in my 30s is the spaceship dream, where literally I was just lying in bed sleeping, probably having some other dream that I don't even really remember all that much, when all of a sudden I was just like, I'm getting pulled out of my body, I'm getting pulled into a spaceship. And I was in a spaceship. But then, not only was I in the spaceship, I was in the spaceship. First off, not like, oh, I have arms, fingers, and like, no. Just like awareness. And my awareness was there to learn some things. And the first thing that I heard about that is that consciousness is infinite. Consciousness on Earth is far older than we think it is. kind of explained the whole zodiac as beautiful repeating cycle, which we can keep track of time with the energies of change. Or at least that's how I'm paraphrasing it right now. Yeah, it was really interesting. I remember having more than my standard, close to like roughly 180 degrees of like peripheral visual awareness. I remember it being very much expanded to more than that, perhaps even double, perhaps even double. But yeah, those are some 4 very intriguing dreams that have stuck with me and maybe even influenced my worldview. Some more than others. I mean, definitely the poop out my pee hole dream is definitely a nice opportunity for a good chuckle every once in a while when I just say the phrase. But anyway, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for sticking around. Love you. Bye.